SWURL, a different way to search, and a different way to see your search results. SWURL isn't a search engine. SWURL is a search portal. You search SWURL via the internet by following the link listed. I first heard about this via one of the many newsletters I receive and thought it would be a great tool for all to try. I've also featured it in Tuesday's Tech for Seniors newsletter. To get to Tech for Seniors, just follow the link listed. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and get involved. Once you open the website, you'll notice that the interface is very simple. Type in your search request, and you'll see your results. How the results are shared is where the difference between this search portal and other search results differ, as you'll soon see. The next slide will show you a few options that are available when making a search. The search we'll be doing will be for Bob 3160. You'll notice it's entered in quotes to signify that I only want results for what's typed. Selecting the little down arrow on the extreme right of the search box brings up the options available, and normally this isn't selected unless you're interested in one of those options. Next, we'll go directly to the SWURL website so I can show you the results of that search for Bob 3160. So I've opened the web browser to the SWURL website, and I've done a search for Bob 3160. This is where the difference comes in. When you do the search in SWURL, you not only get the Google search results, but you also get Instagram, YouTube, and images associated with the search that was made. If I were using just the regular Google search, here are my results. And as you see, they're just the regular results. And if I go back to SWURL, these are all generated from Google search, which is the default search engine if you don't make any changes in this section here, where you can select, for instance, Bing as a default. Without making any changes in here, your search results, the main search, is Google. But you also get from Instagram, and you can go to any one of these pages that are on here. And as you can see, you can scroll each individual column. You're actually getting, depending on what services you use, a display of all the different services that come up when you do a search, displayed in one simple page, and you can access any one of these. That's the big difference. If you were using just the Google search, this is what you have. Yes, you can from here go to images, videos, shopping, maps, news, books, but they're all going to overwrite the original page, whereas in SWURL, they're individual columns, and you can access any one of the columns. A great little tool to use if you do lots of searches and want access to many things all at the same time. Give it a try. Hopefully you'll like it as much as I did. One other thing I might point out in these settings, once you've used it for a while, if this is something you want to use on a regular basis, you can make this your default search. Set SWURL search as default. If you select that, then this becomes your default setting anytime you do a search. Stay safe, stay secure. I hope this helps. Bye-bye.
So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to talk about 4 Windows tips this morning. Accessing your apps in the Start menu in Windows 10. A little takeoff of what Bob's doing, change the default search engine in the address bar on Edge, and then add a home button in Edge, and then pin the Edge browser website to the taskbar. So these tips actually are more focused on Microsoft Edge and not some of the other search engines. So if you want to, if you're like me, some people, when you look at your start menu, you may have it rather compact like this. It just depends on how you set your defaults. But say, for instance, if you want to be able to access all apps within the start menu, you can change that. Currently, to get to all apps, you would go here and then click on this button, and then it would show you all the apps you have installed on your computer. But you can have that the all apps session as part of your start menu by going to settings, personalization, and then here click on start and just switch on show apps list and start menu. And that will then, when you click on your start menu, you now have all the apps showing as part of your start menu. It takes up more space. If you want to convert something differently and not have this showing at all, you can do the same thing by just turning it off. And then you're more view. So it's an option. So now if we want to change the default search engine, and I do a lot of searching in using my address bar a lot. I just search from here. And right now it's this can be changed to be whatever default that you want. So what we will do here is just go to the three dots, or what they call the ellipse over here. And we then want to go down to settings. And then we want to go to privacy, search, and services. And then you have to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see address bar and search. So you can click here. And then as you can see that normally the default search engine for Edge is Bing, but you can change it to Yahoo, Google, or DuckDuckGo. Those are some of the choices. You pick the one that you want to use. I want to use Google. Then now, when I do a search in the in my search bar, it will be using the Google search engine. How many times do you would like to have a dedicated home button for a particular site that you like? In Edge, you can change the default here, where you see the home button. And when you click on the home button, it takes you to a page. Like in this case, it's MSN. But say, for instance, if I have a particular site that I want to always have as my home page, I can change that. So to do that, I want to then go down to settings here. I want to go to appearance. And then you'd be amazed the number of settings that are under appearance that we probably never realized that was here. But there is a button here that says home button. And right now I can change that by changing the set button URL. And here I'm going to now click where I'm able to change the URL. And let's just say I like to have my home button to be NASCAR. So I'm just going to type in HTTP NASCAR.com. And then I'm going to do click on save. So now, when I open up my browser, it's always going to come up to usually whatever you last had up. Like it always starts in a new tab. But if I hit my home button now, I should come up with the NASCAR site. So I can add another. I can do bring up some other website if I want. And if I want, always go back to my home button. I can just press home, and I'll always have NASCAR website on page. And lastly, if you are one that wants to have a website pinned to your taskbar that you use frequently, you can do that as well. So what we'll do here again is go to our ellipses. Then we'll want to go to apps. And then we want to go down to more tools. And here you can see where you can pin. I can pin my NASCAR website to my taskbar just like here. And now, as you can see, when I bring up my taskbar, I have the NASCAR website here as well. You can use this for your bank or any website that you use frequently. So that's things that you can do with Microsoft Edge. And I hope that you can, I hope these were helpful to you. So with that, I will give the mic back to Ron.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you very much. Kardiamobile device or your smartwatch? Do they do the same thing? Which one would I recommend? It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. This week a viewer asked me which one I would recommend for her father. She asked me if they did the same things, and I had to say, well, sort of. Let me explain my response. So first of all, let me explain what this Kardiamobile device is. Many of you are wondering what I'm talking about. Now we all know what a smartwatch is. This, of course, is my Fitbit Sense. So Kardiamobile is a little device that I'm showing you here, and you put your 2 fingers on the right side, 2 fingers on the left side, and this actually does an ECG. Now it does it through an app on your phone. So yes, you do need a smartphone. Yes, you do need to download the app, and the two are connected by Bluetooth. It's available for iOS and Android. And this little device is fairly tiny, and this is a holder for it, and I even have it so you can put it on a key ring. You'll see it sort of in the palm of my hands. It's very tiny. This device was cleared in 2012 by the FDA for doing an ECG and interpreting it as to whether or not you have atrial fibrillation or not. As a physician, I spent most of my life helping folks like you. Now I've retired. I spend most of my time making health-related videos about smartwatches. and I've made more than 22 videos about smartwatches and your health. In this video, to keep it short, I'm going to constantly refer to some of the other videos and put the links in the description for you. So if you don't understand something, the link will be down in the description and you can play that video. So let's get on with it. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe, please. So the first thing we have to do is talk about two common medical conditions you'll be faced with that go up exponentially after the age of 60. The first one we're going to talk about is atrial fibrillation. And in this diagram, you'll see that when we turn 60, that you'll find that the incidence of atrial fibrillation goes up exponentially with age. So what does all that mean? Well, you don't have to know anything about atrial fibrillation except the four things I'm going to tell you about now. And the first thing you have to know is that after you saw that graph, you'll understand that it's common. It is very, very common, and it goes up exponentially as you get older. The second thing is that you need to know that atrial fibrillation is often associated with a fast heart rate. So you can sometimes pick it up by measuring your pulse. The third thing you need to know is that it's often asymptomatic. In other words, people don't know they have it. And it's estimated about 30% of people with atrial fibrillation don't know they have it. And that's an important point we'll come back to. And the fourth one's the biggie. This is the biggie. It's the third cause of stroke. And this is preventable. So if we can find folks that have atrial fibrillation that don't know they have it and get them treatment, we can prevent a lot of strokes. And heck, who wants a stroke? The second medical problem that you might encounter is exactly the opposite. Instead of your heart going too fast, it's going to go too slow. In other words, it just wears out. You know, I mean, our knees wear out and we get new knees, or hips wear out, we get new hips. Cataracts get replaced. Well, your heart just wears out and it starts to slow down. And you might require a pacemaker. And as you can see in this study from New Zealand, the incidence of pacemaker insertion goes up, guess what? Exponentially as you get older. So the older you get, the more likely it's going to be that you're going to require a pacemaker. So what are the symptoms? Well, bad news. You know, those are the older people that are driving down the highway and they just lose consciousness and have some very bad results. Or those are people that are home and get dizzy, fall and break their hip. So this is a bad thing that happen. And so this is something that can be picked up by a slow pulse. This is basically what happens is your pulse gets slower and slower and slower until there's not enough oxygen going up to the brain because the flow is so low. Again, this is quite easy to pick up because it's related to your heart rate. So obviously we want to measure your heart rate. Yes, Kardiamobile will do that. Yes, my smartwatch will do that. But any watch over $10 will easily measure your heart rate. All watches do that, and they usually will tell you if you're going too fast or too slow. So what I simply recommend is that maybe you set the top number to about 130. If it goes over 130, maybe see your doctor, have it analyzed, because maybe that's atrial fibrillation. And I would set the low at 60. And if it goes, your heart rate goes below 60, then you might want to see your doctor and find out, hey, is everything okay here? And that could be done with just a $10 device. Put it on your wrist and just measure your heart rate. And remember, too fast, it might be atrial fibrillation. Too slow, you might need a pacemaker. Simple, $10 investment. All right, let's say your heart starts to flutter. Your $10 watch tells you your heart is going over 130. And after watching this video, you wonder, do you have atrial fibrillation? Wouldn't it be interesting if you could do some sort of test that would tell you if you do or do not have atrial fibrillation without having to go to the doctor? Well, in fact, that's what we call an ECG. And the first device to be able to do that, of course, was this little device here, Kardiamobile. Yes, in 2011, this was the first device that came out that actually did an ECG and would interpret it as to whether or not you had atrial fibrillation. They then taught Apple how to do it, and the Apple Watch was the first watch to be able to do ECG. Following this, of course, the Fitbit Sense, the Samsung watches 3, 4, and 5 did that, and of course, we now have the Pixel Watch does it as well. So we're now able to, all these devices can do FDA approved, because these are actually medical devices, FDA cleared ECGs, but the only thing they do is they tell you if you do or do not have atrial fibrillation. These don't do the same type of ECGs we do in the emergency department in the hospital. So that's important for you to know. All right, so far these two look pretty similar, right? Kardiamobile versus your smartwatch. Well, this past year there was a big game changer. Let's look back at this. Both those devices, you have to have symptoms, then you actually do a manual ECG. You activate it on your watch, which means you have to sort of push the bezel, or you have to do, everyone's a little bit different, but it's a manual process that you have to activate. The same thing on Kardiamobile. You have to get your device out, put your fingers on it, and activate it. But remember what I told you earlier. I told you that 30% of people with atrial fibrillation have no symptoms. So how's that going to work? Wouldn't it be interesting if these devices that were on your wrist would just simply continuously monitor your heart rate and tell you if you have atrial fibrillation? That'd be a game changer, right? And that happened this year, folks. This was so important. It didn't really get the press I think it deserved. It was called irregular heart rate notification. And this is a feature that is on the Apple Watch, and it goes back to a whole bunch of earlier Apple Watches as well. The same thing happened with Fitbit. The Fitbit line not only was the Sense, which does the ECG, but the irregular heart rate notification went to a wide variety of models of the Fitbit line. And the same thing with the Galaxy Watch as well, does the irregular heart rate notification. This is incredible because what it does is it monitors your heart rate without you actually having to activate an ECG. It looks for atrial fibrillation. Now, this doesn't continuously do this on a 24/7 period. What it does is it selects certain times of the day and does random sampling to see if you have atrial fibrillation. It mostly does this at night. And that's another clue I'm going to give you. If you do have any of these smart devices and you're concerned about monitoring your heart rate, you always want to wear that watch to bed with you at night. I know if you have always taken your watch off at bedtime, you just have to get used to wearing your watch at night because that's when a lot of this monitoring occurs. Yes, it monitors it and it will send you a notification if you have atrial fibrillation. This is huge because now we can monitor ourselves and find out if we are going into atrial fibrillation when we don't even know it and get treatment for that and prevent a stroke. That's why I wear my Fitbit Sense. I don't want to have a stroke. Now, I've produced a video, how to prevent a stroke with a smartwatch, which explains all this, how to install it, how the app works, everything you need to know about this feature. I'll put the link down below and you can just click that and watch that video. All right, because of the irregular heart rate notification, my vote is going to go towards the devices you wear on your wrist because you can get continuous monitoring. Of course, you can't get continuous monitoring with this device because you have to pull it out and do a manual ECG. So what are my final thoughts about this device? Well, it's interesting because this device actually comes in two different models. There is a model that's more expensive and it's called the 6L Kardiamobile device. This device gives a 6-lead ECG. Now, you don't need to know what a 6-lead ECG means, but it's almost as good as a hospital ECG. It provides an incredible amount of information about your heart, something the other devices just don't do. The problem is the type of information it's going to give you really needs to be interpreted by a healthcare provider, most likely a cardiologist. So in certain situations, this could be beneficial, but you'd have to talk to your healthcare provider because they would play a key role in getting that information, interpreting it, and giving you advice back. So it's something that you really need to talk to your healthcare provider before spending your money on the 6L version of the Kardiamobile device. It's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. If you enjoyed the video, please